couldn't do any more for him, not without angering the gods who watched through the security cameras on the ceiling. She couldn't take the time to tell him that it had been the right choice, all things considered. That with so many cards in play and partial decks, he could never assess the exact odds, but that asking for another card at 15 had been the right call statistically. It was just a fluke, genuinely bad luck. She swallowed. This guy didn't get angry, though. He tried to hide the disappointment. Absolutely. Can't have a bad streak forever, right? He brought his martini glass up to drain it, realized it was already empty, and stood. Clearly, it's time for another drink. He winked and headed off, weaving slightly. Gracie didn't tell him that the nearest bar was in the other direction. He had probably just been trying to get away from the woman who'd seen him lose, and in any case, he didn't need more alcohol. His judgment was impaired enough already. There was a tap on her shoulder, and she turned to see Matt, the manager on duty. Tim was standing next to him, ready to take the table. "Your shift's done," Matt told her. Gracie nodded. Casinos existed in a sort of endless evening, with soft golden lighting, waitresses in sparkly costumes, and jazz playing over the speakers. There was no way to know what time it really was, and the casinos liked that. There were no clocks. Dealers weren't allowed to wear watches, and she had learned not to try to anticipate what time it was. She simply existed until someone came to get her for a break or the end of her shift. She cleared her hands for the cameras, took the tips from her lockbox, and made her way quickly through the tables to the end of the room, Matt at her side. "Have you thought about it?" he asked her. Gracie tensed slightly. "No." "You should," Matt insisted. Tall and relatively good-looking, he wore his dark hair just on the edge of being too messy for a dealer. "I know you'd make a ton in tips. We never get complaints about you." She hated this. Gracie swiped her card at the door to the back hallways as she gathered her courage. I did think about it. No." Matt tipped his head back and sighed. "Come on, Gracie. You'd be making so much more, and we're short-staffed." "I know, and I'm sorry. I just don't want to." Gracie gave him a nod and ended the conversation by force, slipping through the door and leaving him behind. She walked quickly to her locker, annoyed. A few weeks ago, Matt had come to her to ask if she would consider taking some shifts as a cocktail waitress. "Nicer uniform," he'd said with a laugh. He gestured at the white shirts and silk vests the dealers wore. "Better than this atrocity." It was hard to argue with that. Sparkly and glamorous, the dresses the cocktail waitresses wore were quintessentially Vegas, part of the glamour that had drawn Gracie here after she finished college. She wanted to wear a sparkly dress as a patron, though, not as a waitress. When she was working, she liked the relative anonymity of her mandated plain hairstyle, understated makeup, and distinctly unsexy uniform. She didn't want to be bringing overpriced cocktails to already drunk patrons, not with all the comments and catcalls she could expect. It was late, and she should go straight home, but after that last client and Matt's disappointment, she decided to head to one of her favorite places on the Strip, the Bellagio Fountains. Even this late, the air was warm. She'd stripped off her white shirt and vest, leaving the tank top underneath, replaced the black slacks with jeans, and swapped her black work shoes for flip-flops. She looked up at the lights and listened to the music and laughter and the wind rustling in the trees and felt her tension melt away. She stood and watched the fountains for a while. This was what she liked most about Vegas. Stately grandeur mixed with unabashed glitz. "I know it's too much," the whole Vegas Strip seemed to say. "That's the point." Gracie had chosen Vegas on a whim, moving here after she finished college, while her parents demanded to know exactly what she was planning to do with a statistics degree in Las Vegas, of all places. Gracie had told them she'd figure it out. Then, after interviewing at a bunch of soulless offices where they murmured things about depreciation and client experience, she'd taken a job as a dealer on a lark. Okay, and a little bit to piss off her parents. Whatever, it was working out fine. Mostly fine. Not entirely fine.